Hey guys, what's up? So in this video I just want to talk about my thoughts about Apple's event, because currently last October 23rd in 2012 Apple just held their press conference in San Jose, California, where they announced some new products, because they already had an event in September, which was when they announced the iPhone 5 and the new iPod lineup, and now they announced some new stuff in this event. So let me first start out with the first thing that they mentioned about MacBook Pro 13-inch Retina display. Well, what can I say about this MacBook? It is great, but at the same time, I wouldn't buy it myself because, yeah, it does have a Retina display, but the specs, I don't know. I don't think they meet all that. How do I say it? The specs don't really meet the requirements that much, and plus there's like no dedicated graphics from what I've heard or something. It's actually not as good compared to the 15-inch MacBook Pro Retina display. But the one thing that immediately made me think that I would not get this is because it does not have an optical drive. Now some of you guys are probably thinking like, oh Ben, you shouldn't use CDs anymore. Well, here's the thing, I do have to use CDs eventually, and I still use CDs these days. And I actually have an optical drive on my computer back there, and I have used that optical drive. So the fact that the 13-inch MacBook Pro Retina display, or just the MacBook Pro Retina display in general, doesn't have an optical drive, and you have to buy an external one, that's not right, because you're paying a lot more money for the MacBook Pro Retina display versus the non-MacBook Pro Retina display that has an optical drive, but it's actually cheaper. MacBook Pro Retina display, I still want to buy it, especially the 13-inch, because that is a little bit smaller, but it's a little under spec. As far as the Mac Mini is concerned, Mac Mini, again, no optical drive, but it's still, it has some minor upgrades. I mean, it hasn't been upgraded in a while. I mean, the Mac Mini didn't have like a drastic design change, but you know, the Mac Mini, it just had some minor upgrades. So for those of you guys that do like the Mac Mini, go ahead and look it up if you are interested in purchasing it. That's actually Apple's most affordable desktop that they have. Alright, and let's get on with the other big thing that they announced, which is a new iMac. And holy crap, this new iMac is so thin. The display is so thin. All they did was like laminated the glass and the panel, whatever they did together, and the computer just looks so thin and so small compared to the previous generation. The previous generation, it didn't look too big, but now you look at it with this new one, the previous generation looks downright fat. But then again, that's because the new one doesn't have an optical drive, and it just kind of eliminates some of the thickness, which I will tell you what, this new iMac does look great, but at the same time, I wouldn't buy it because, again, it doesn't have a CD drive, and if I have to get a CD drive, I have to buy it externally. I have to get separate accessories with these Apple products now. Like, I don't understand why Apple is doing this. For me, I understand that Apple does want to get people into the digital market, but at the same time, I feel like it's too early, and they haven't done anything where you can rely on the digital market. And you guys are like, well, Ben, what are you talking about? You can download apps from the App Store on your iOS device and the Mac operating system. Okay, you can do that, but how reliable is that? Because don't you ever get messages where you're disconnected off of Wi-Fi, so it'll cancel your download, and then the only way you can download it is if you reconnect your internet again, and blah 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 blah. You know, I just don't trust into the digital market yet. Like, I haven't trusted yet, which is why I'm still using physical media, and sometimes I even use physical media to transfer data. You know, like I actually have a CD that I actually treat it as a USB drive. Although a USB drive would be a lot easier to use. It's just that I don't have one yet, which I am looking at it right now, but for now I have to use a CD, even though it's very slow. And the digital market, like, what I think Apple should be doing is be focused on how they can improve the digital market, meaning make it so reliable that I don't have to use a physical storage device anymore, or how do I say it, a physical media. Yeah, you know, like a CD or tape players, or no, not nobody uses tape players, but Apple is trying to get people away from CDs into the digital market, and I still think that that is too early right now. So the fact that, I mean, it would make sense if Apple eliminated the optical drive in their laptops, okay, fine. But in the desktop, especially the iMac, I don't think that makes sense at all. Anyway, none of those Macs, I would buy it. In fact, you know what I find weird is that Apple is not selling the previous generation iMac alongside with the new iMac, and by the way, the new iMac doesn't have a Retina display, so for those of you guys that were hoping for that, no, you don't get it. I mean, just like what Apple did with the Macbook Pro, they're still selling the previous generation Macbook Pro alongside the Retina Display Macbook Pro. They're not doing that for the iMac. I do not understand why, but I'm done talking about the Macs. The last conference I've seen about Macs, I just wasn't too pleased at all. Like, I was actually a little disappointed. But yeah, you know, even though I might get a Mac one day, I will make sure it'll have a optical drive. Otherwise, I gotta buy a separate one. Yeah, that'll not be fun. So let's talk about the iPads. Now, one unexpected thing that I wasn't expecting at all was an iPad 4th generation. Now, before you guys say anything, for those of you guys that just bought the 3rd generation iPad a few days ago or a few weeks ago, don't do yourself a favor, don't return it to the Apple Store, Best Buy, Walmart, Target, Kmart, GameStop, wherever you guys bought your 3rd generation iPad. Don't return it just so you can get the 4th generation, because the 4th generation only has some minor upgrades, such as it has a lightning connector, it has an A6X processor, so you got better quad-core graphics on there. So yeah, those are the only thing that happened with the 4th generation iPad. I mean, there was no redesign change to this iPad at all. All it did was improve specs and then got the lightning connector. Now, the next thing that Apple talked about is the iPad mini. So I was wrong. I thought they would never come up with an iPad mini, but it looks like they did. And now my first initial thoughts about this was like, why did Apple do this? It's not necessary to get themselves into the lower tablet market, because here's the thing: no matter how they do it, no matter when they do it, no matter where they do it, they're just gonna blow everybody out of the water. No ifs or buts about it. Even though there are Android fanboys out there, or iOS fanboys out there, Microsoft fanboys out there, BlackBerry fanboys out there, you know, no matter what, Apple is gonna beat everybody unless if someone magically appeared out of nowhere and all of a sudden just beat Apple at their own game. I mean, for instance, you know, Apple compared the iPad mini to the Nexus 7 in terms of the screen real estate, where they have more screen real estate on the iPad mini than the Nexus 7, and plus there are better apps for the iPad because those are tablet based on apps, whereas the Android apps, they are just stretched out phone apps. So I don't see why Apple decided to make an iPad mini. But then as I kept thinking about it more and more and more, I was like, hey, maybe this could be a good idea. Because here's the thing, I understand that you guys would love the 9.7 inch screen iPad versus the 7.9 inch iPad mini, but think about it, you know, if all you're going to be doing with your iPad mini is just browsing the web, and then you're going to be just I don't know, reading books, and then you're just looking up the web definitions of words, then by all means go ahead and use the iPad mini. Or if you actually, unless you have to do heavy duty stuff such as looking at a textbook, even though you can do that on the iPad mini or etc., you know, stuff like that, you can do it with a lot of power on the 4th generation iPad. And of course the iPad mini is supporting the lightning connector. But one thing that I find very strange is the price points. Because here's the thing. I figured that Apple would have to keep the iPad mini a little bit more expensive than the iPod Touch 5th generation. Just the 5th generation. I don't even care about the comparison between the iPad mini and the 4th generation. There are some models that are actually a little bit more expensive than the iPad 4th generation, but on the lower spec. Like, it basically just copied iPad 2 specs, but with some parts of it that is a little bit better than the iPad 2. I mean, there is no Retina display, so there's a 1024 by 768 resolution on there. Well, along with a A5 processor. Oh, no, what was it? Or was it A6? No. It was an A5 processor, which is actually a dual-core processor. And along with a 720p HD front-facing camera, and I believe a 5-megapixel rear-facing camera. I'm not sure about that, but you guys can check Apple's site. I mean, for instance, Apple's 16GB Wi-Fi model for the iPad mini is $329, and look at it compared to the 64GB iPod Touch 5th generation, it is $399. So you are actually paying $400 for a 64GB iPod Touch 5th generation, and you're only paying $330 for an iPad mini's 16GB Wi-Fi only version. And then if you want the cellular version, no, just for 16GB, it's actually boosted up to, jeez, I can't remember in my head, but I think it was like $459 or something. I don't know, it was somewhere around that. But the point is, like, I find it that the price ranges are very strange for the iPad mini, but at the same time, it is better than the iPod Touch 5th generation, no matter what price it is, no matter what specs it is, because with an iPad, any iPad, it is a little bit bigger than the iPod Touch 5th generation, so it'll be capable and better things than the iPod Touch 5th generation, no matter how much it can handle. So the iPad mini, I'm actually interested in it. At first I thought it was strange, but then as I keep thinking about it more and more and more, I'm like, oh, maybe this is a good idea. But was this necessary? That's the question, because I still think that this is unnecessary to do. But what can Apple do to prove me wrong? So I want to leave you guys out of this video with a question. What were you most excited about in this event that occurred on October 23rd, 2012? Whether it was the new MacBook Pro 13-inch, the new iMac, iPad mini, iPad 4th generation. I'd like to see you guys leave a comment down below. Thank you so much for watching, and of course hit the like button if you guys enjoyed hearing my thoughts. I mean, you can share your thoughts in the comments down below as long as they're appropriate. Follow me on Twitter, follow me on Instagram, whatever. All of that is in the description below. I'll see you guys in the next one. You have a good day now and take care.